All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, according to multiple news sources, the Apex Court made a declaration today while delivering judgment in a suit instituted by 3 states of the Federation. A 7-man panel of the Apex Court held that the old 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes remain legal tender until December 31st, 2023. The Supreme Court faulted the entire policy of the CBN, saying that the timing and the implementation were defective. Now, considering the tedious economic reality of Nigerians within the last few weeks, what are your thoughts on the Supreme Court's invalidation of the federal government's Naira redesign policy? Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081 803 84663. You can also tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. So me, I had a question that I had planned in my head, but I don't know who I'm going to direct this question to. But please, are we allowed to sue if this thing comes back, if the old Naira note comes back to circulation and they really start to use it? Are we allowed to sue CBN for damages? Because trust me, it is painful. It is painful. I want to sue them on behalf of a lot of people, on behalf of Nigerians, for all our sufferings, because it was just too much stress. I know how many people, in fact, the other day I sent someone to the market. He had a physical fight with somebody because the person could not give him he couldn't give the person 500 naira. I don't have cash. The guy actually tore his shirt and punched him. Do you understand? So I don't understand. Are we allowed to sue these people, first of all? Let me ask that question. Who is going to answer me? Oti, answer this question.
Help us.
No comments.
I think we should be allowed to. So if
I have no comment. I literally am staying out of it.
Honest, really, because it's so like when I actually saw the news, I was first of all weak. I didn't even know what to even think or say, because I know that so many people lost their lives, mostly medically, that they couldn't pay their hospital bills. People were stranded. So many people that could not eat. People queued in the banks. Now some bank workers. So all of this was, in fact, it's just as if everything Nigerians have been going through from day one has been in vain. This most recent one is the one that I'm like, and you know, what do you expect?
Alero, I'm happy you're bringing the human side to this, because on a serious note, let's take jokes apart that I'm trying to smile. This is actually very painful.
Yeah, it is.
We saw so many people stripped naked in the banks, so many bank workers fleeing for their lives. So many things went wrong. Properties were destroyed, damages, on top of this issue of this Naira redesign. Then you come up and all of a sudden, you don't revalidate this money. So who will pay for those losses? The people that have lost lives, people could not pay hospital bills, people could not pay school fees. I remember that woman that stripped naked in the bank was because she was crying that she could not pay her children's school fees. Do you understand? This thing, I don't understand how Nigeria, how they want us to function.
But now, I don't know if we should conclude this, because CBN is here to issue a statement on this, I think, as at now. So, the first time when Supreme Court said this, CBN came and said they are not in support.
Was the president that came?
Okay, the president,
that spoke on behalf of,
So now, I think we should still wait to see what CBN has to say. It doesn't make any sense. What's going on? If they can just at least give us an insight on their master plan, because you have Governor El-Rufai saying that it was CBN's plan or Mefele's plan to make PDP win. And the question in between that is, how? What does he mean by that? Is he trying to say that by taking the old Naira out of system is going to reduce the power of APC from maybe... I'm just trying to understand the meaning of that statement he made by saying taking the old Naira away will hinder the chance of... we increase the chance of PDP winning the elections.
Somehow, I don't really understand. Admitting quietly that they are all vote buying. Go ahead, Alero.
No, sir, I'm just concurring with what you just said. Like, with what they are just doing, there's been a plan from day one. So whatever the plan is just to play to the best of their own, to favor them, So now that everything has ended, it did not favor them. Now they're able to go back to change it. But it's still the people that are suffering. So for me, the fact that they've taken Nigerians for granted for this long is just so irritating, really. Even to the smallest of things that they could, this is what they can control. Money you did not work for people in their accounts, but we have to use this money. After all the drama back and forth, Nigerians were still dealing with the whole fuel scarcity at the time. Then the whole Naira, the one that you had to quickly shut it down in February. Like, I'm so, like, I don't even, like Glory
But
said, yes,
okay, so can we bring out a bit of clarity in this matter, or can we bring some statements of facts that the governor made,
so let me.
Okay, sorry, Uti, because I was coming to you, Uti, with this, because I remember that recently I was in the UK and I had to call Uti to help me out because I had apparently I didn't even know that. I thought it was only the £20 notes that I had that were old. I didn't know that the £50 notes I had too were also the old design. So I called Uti, and the simple thing she did was she just Googled and told me, okay, I'll go to this particular post office, you'll be able to swap the money and they will give you the new Naira, new pound note, right? And it was such a seamless process. There was no hassle, right? I went somewhere before. I told you guys that the guy cheated me, but when I eventually spoke with Uti and she told me where to go to, it was actually not. It was zero to nothing. That I didn't pay any charges for them to swap the money. So some of the points that the governor made about the ill timing and the fact that it was hurriedly done. So okay, now the Queen of England passed on, of course, a few months ago. They've even redesigned the new notes now. This one that I even said was, old. This new one that I collected is even now old because now the new notes will carry the prince's face on it. And they have given a plan that it's going to be in 2024, right? That the new pound notes, they will completely phase out this entire old notes and have the new ones, right? So, in saner climes, in all fairness to what the governors were saying, which is the truth, in saner climes, you don't just do these kinds of policies and just brashly implement it like that. But you see, there's a Nigerian factor that people always like to wait till dying minutes, right? So I don't understand. So, Uti, the question is, first of all, when you look at all of these things, do we even start to draw lines to say, okay, this person was wrong, or how do we even approach the conversation with this Naira redesign and this new, order from the Supreme Court?
Well, I think I would like to first of all split two things. There is the policy itself and there's the implementation.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the policy because the policy itself was designed to solve a number of problems that Nigeria currently has. So the policy itself, in my opinion, was not the problem. Now, if we come to the implementation leaves a lot to be desired. Given that we've seen the impact it has had on the lives of Nigerians, it has had on the banking sector, it has had, and it's still having, in fact, because we're still in the throes of it. It's not like the new notes are readily available. So the implementation leaves a lot to be desired, and it caused a lot of people to question the motives behind it. Of course, all sorts of things were being posited, whether it was the election that was part of it, all sorts of theories were posited. So definitely the implementation didn't work. It has cost a lot of people, it has cost a lot of organizations, and its impact on the economy certainly will take quite a while for us to recover from. Now, when we come down to what this ruling says, because I was trying to pick apart what basis, or on what basis were they saying that it was invalid, right? Because for starters, I remember when the president came out during his address to say that the 200 Naira notes, old notes, would be put back into circulation. And there were questions then being raised saying, but you have a case in court, right? How are you able to make this proclamation to say we're going to put it back into the old notes back into circulation? And the cause as to whether it was a democratic rule or it was an autocratic rule. So all of these things have been brought to the fore. Now, for me, I always ask the question to say, what I saw from, this is, again, a lot of analysis hasn't gone into it, but just reading the newspaper stories that have reported this, it doesn't appear that the problem is in the
Policy.
doing. Did I put it that way? It's not that it was unlawful, but it was more the manner in which
It was done.
it was done. That there was not proper consultation with the people, that the time in which it was put together was short. I believe when the panel member who was given the reading of the outcome also said that I believe the president had an executive right, but that adequate consultations had not been put in place before it went ahead. So it sounds more like they're sticking to the implementation, which is why I was trying to split it, to say, where is the invalidity coming from? Because if you come then to the CBN Act, which now speaks about legal tender and all, I was trying to find something in there that says, that speaks to this, and I found in section 20, it says there that notwithstanding subsections 1 and 2 of section 20, which says that the currencies are legal tender in Nigeria, both in notes and in coins, but that section 3 says the bank shall have the power, if directed to do so by the president, and after giving reasonable notice in that behalf, to call in any of its notes or coins on payment of the face value thereof, and any note or coin with respect to which a notice has been given under this subsection shall, on the expiration of the notice, cease to be legal tender, right? So
the question that they are now dragging is who defines adequate notice?
What is reasonable notice? So that was what I was trying to find. That what was the timing, the legislation behind it to say that that was the case. So I believe this is the section on which they're standing upon. But again, as with all acts are always very vague. That is why when you have an act, then you have a policy to clarify what the act is. So the governors are saying that we did not have reasonable notice, and given the realities and the causalities that we've seen, I think everybody can adequately agree that we didn't have reasonable notice. Because if we had reasonable notice, we wouldn't have the shortages, we wouldn't have the strife that people have gone through. So that is really where this is coming from.
They would argue with you that, CBN would argue with you that this thing, they announced it a long time ago. They announced when it was going to be, what's it called? You see, when you say reasonable notice, right, that kind of a clause is left for everybody's interpretation. What is reasonable to me is unreasonable to you as a person. So I was going to say that because, you know why I'm saying this, that, you know, CBN would also argue with you that because the governors were trying to prove a point, you know, some of those, demonstrations, some of those mayhem that we saw was orchestrated. Do you understand? It was sponsored by these same governors because they were hell-bent on proving a point that that notice was not long enough. Now, look at the timing that the Supreme Court has given for change of currency to December 31st, 2023.
Yeah, but you know, for me, right, I don't want to go based on any speculations. I just want to go based on what we see.
Yeah.
So if you say that the period, the notice was reasonable, right? If you say that, okay, CBN announced this in the last quarter of 2023, there was enough time, even if there was enough time, the CBN itself has not been able to produce enough Naira to meet demand. If they were able to, right? If this was a situation of, I can access notes comfortably, I can go about my daily life comfortably, where even in seeing that the acknowledgement of releasing the 200 Naira old notes is you accepting that, you know what, I haven't been able to meet up with demand. So everything that has actually happened shows that even the CBN was not ready to meet the demands, right? Because, well, let me not say they were not ready. They were unable to meet the demand because we still have that shortage today.
Okay.
To which we are releasing those new notes. So for me, I don't see that there's any, even if you want to take the facts of saying it's not a length of time, but you want to take it and say, okay, were we ready? Is everybody okay now? We are not.
Okay. Let's go on a very short break, right? When we come back, I'd like to hear Gloria and Alero. Then, Uti, I have a follow-up question for you. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we are discussing the Supreme Court's invalidation of the federal government's Naira redesign policy. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at PlusTvAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. So I was going to ask a follow-up question. Just a minute, Glory. So wait, when you say that sufficient funds or the funds were not available, don't you think that part of what the CBN was trying to control was the amount of Naira in circulation? So that scarcity that we saw was a deliberate act for the CBN to keep, to control the number of, Naira within circulation, which was part of the reason for the redesign in the first place.
So I believe when the president gave his address, he had spoken to, I believe it was 2.7, I don't remember now if it was 2.7, I think it was 2.7 trillion.
Yes.
That he had said was in circulation that the CBN was trying to mop up, of which they had then mopped up 2.1 trillion. I believe those were the figures at the time. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Now, even if you have an excess in circulation, right, there is still the minimum amount or a certain amount that needs to be in circulation for daily life. Forget the ones that we're saying, is being hoarded or whatever you want to call it, right? Now, the CBN has to provide that. So it's like saying you work hard for your money is in your account, but you can't access your money because cash is unavailable, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, even if you say that you want to reduce the number of the amount of cash in circulation, there must still be enough for the people to use. So the fact is, we have a large population of unbanked and underbanked people. We have a large informal sector. We're not going to overnight, in a matter of months, get all those people with suitable identification to then, get involved in banking, as the case may be. Even the CBN itself, that whole sector of agency banking is thriving because of those sectors, because those people still need to live their daily lives. They still need to be served. If you even take away all of this English that we're speaking, let's just take our transportation system. The very ability for a Nigerian to get from point A to point B in public transport today
is heavily cash dependent, yes.
It's cash dependent. There are so few areas. I believe in Lagos State, the Lagos State buses, I think, have a system that is cashless. But
you're doing the carry card services now.
Exactly. We're still largely cash dependent, and that's just one area. That's just one area. Like I said, there's a huge informal sector, there's a huge underbanked sector, a huge unbanked sector, and there's a lot of people that don't even have basic identification. So there's so many factors to take into place that even if we want to implement this, you can't then just restrict cash. You're going to actually impact people's lives.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, Glory, I saw you penning down a few things.
So, what if the president issues a statement and still says he stands on what he said? Because we've just heard one side of the story, right?
Uti, please, do you have room in your house? Because I'll be happy to come back and just come and stay with you because I'm tired.
Because the uncertainty is just too much. We've been dragged through so many emotions.
Yeah, I think it's early days now. I mean, this ruling is only a few hours old. So we'll need to wait to hear the position of the CBN.
And the position of the president.
No, let's say we're going to hear the position of the CBN. Let's.
But I want to ask a question, Uti. Central Bank of Nigeria in itself, right, is an independent body. Does the Supreme Court have a, what's it called? How do they put those legal terminologies over the CBN? Jurisdiction over the CBN to oversee their affairs. I thought CBN in itself is an entity that stands alone.
Okay, so we're talking about the jurisdiction of the Nigerian
Yes,
Supreme Court.
yes, the Supreme Court. Does it have a jurisdiction to counter what it is that the central bank is doing? Because the thing is confusing me.
Well, don't forget that the case is not between this. It has nothing to do with the CBN. The case is between the federal government and the governors. Don't forget that. And the Supreme Court has a jurisdiction in any dispute between the federation and a state or between states. So, in truth, the case has nothing to do. If you read where the case is, this is the governors versus the federal government. What is being adjudicated over is the actions of the president. So it's not really a case against the CBN.
Okay, Alero, you wanted to come in.
I mean, with the way Uti has given us the breakdown like this, I'm actually going to just listen more because, like Glory said, I'm stressed. I have lost all the energy that I have. Just talk more of the Nigerian people who are hearing this news.
It's a case of, yeah, you remember how we used to debate when we were young? With this viewpoint of mine, I hope I have confused you and not convinced you, because this is the opposite. we are all actually in a state of confusion, right? And it doesn't make any sense for me. All this tussle, they say when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. Now, what is happening is Nigerians are the ones bearing the brunt of all of this drama, right? If there was an issue, because again, let's look at this policy again. Do you know, you guys did not notice how quickly issues of insecurity just dropped? Kidnapping, right? Because again, most of those things were heavily cash dependent. So now, for instance, you're coming at the airport, all those before bribery and all of those, everything really reduced. People that would normally, use police, all of a sudden police, they are no longer on the roads because there's nothing to collect. Everybody's, I don't have cash. Do you understand? I'm telling you that this thing within 1 month or how many months that it has been effectively implemented, right? We have seen, yes, there has been the part where the people suffer, they cannot pay, 200 Naira to do transport and all of those things. Those parts are there. But the big issues, right? Like issues like extortion, issues like, kidnap, ransom, all of those things just suddenly disappeared because we were not hearing it anymore. So, I mean, there is some level of, good. There's a lot of good to this, right? Yes, it might be the implementation, but I still have a feeling that the people that truly have that it will truly impact, those people are not really affected. Yes. The only part that affects them is that they cannot go to the bank to withdraw money. Do you understand? I just have a feeling that most people are hell-bent on stashing money in their houses and deciding, until the CBN agrees and succumbs so that we can go and move this money. But these things are actually easy. You can just write a petition. Okay, I have XYZ amount of money. If you want to find me, but at least be able to take a good chunk of my money back into the system for me. But you see, I have a feeling that it is because of all the corruption and the what's the word I want to use now in this country. That is why we will not see this, because these things are supposed to be transparent. Yeah. Ideally, you're not supposed to have so much cash with you. So if you had legal cash that you can trace the source, this is how a legitimate money that I made. There is no way that CBN gave us those rules and told us that before XYZ, make sure you have paid it to the bank, that you not have gone to the bank. Your legitimate money. Do you understand? I have a feeling that most of these people that are causing all this drama is because they have illegitimate cash, somewhere that they want to. Because why? We've survived 1 month. We survived how many months without the old Naira notes? Why don't you just leave it and let us just continue to, patch up until they are able to at least circulate enough money into the system?
My next question was, does CBN even have, because I feel like by now we'll probably be seeing more new notes in the system, irrespective of the announcement today. So does CBN even have plans of maybe bringing in, circulating new Naira notes, more of it, at least just like Uti said, which is enough, just enough, not too much, but just enough to keep life going for the ordinary man in Nigeria. So that's the question which
Okay, Glory, let me ask you a direct question. The Naira redesign, the new Naira note, how did it impact you, in all your activities?
So I wasn't able to buy basic things because these are very cash dependent.
So would you be happy to have the old Naira back in circulation?
At this point, that's the problem. So at this point, I don't know what to think about it because I'll say I'm getting used to the new system, if I may put it that way, not having too much cash, even knowing that some market women are now open-minded to say, okay, you can do transfer, but stand until I receive my credit alert. That's just been the normal way currently. So now taking us back.
You think you can live without? Let me ask Uti and Alero this direct question. What do you think? Would you be okay for us to have the reintroduction of the Naira, the old Naira notes back into the system? Alero, do you want to come in and I'll ask Uti?
Honestly speaking, I was even just thinking of the direction of what you were even talking about, that now that they've extended the date, should we start expecting insecurity and kidnapping and the likes? Because, before now, it's reduced. We've not heard anything about it. So at this point, honestly, I don't know I think I feel indifferent because I'm worried of what will start happening now if the old Naira starts to recirculate. So I'm just hoping that it doesn't go back. We don't go back to where we were coming from. That's my own concern and my own worry.
So would you? Go ahead, Uti.
So, I know we've talked about the reduction of insecurity and all of this. I think that our visibility on those issues in the recent weeks and months has also been limited because by nature of the news cycle, there's been so much else that's going on.
Yeah, we've been consumed by political conversations.
Yes, so I don't know that factually we can say that those things have reduced. We probably are just not hearing about them because there are more other issues in the news cycles. But we do need to hear from the CBN in terms of what their plan is, because cash remains legal tender. So even if you are pushing a cashless policy, and like I said, there are lots of benefits to that policy. Even if you are pushing that policy, cash remains legal tender. So they do have to make cash available. They do need to put policies in place to curb these excesses and ensure that the money is in the banking system and not just being hoarded or used to perpetrate crime. So in terms of what Glory was trying to say, then yes, as long as cash remains legal tender in Nigeria, then cash needs to be available for you and I. Other means are a part of the solution, but it's not 100% replacement. But I think that a lot of the questions we have now is still dependent on hearing from the central bank to say what their approach is, because I know that there were some conversations or reports of the conversations around, the courts not having jurisdiction over CBN and whether or not the CBN is going to accept this ruling. So we really do need to hear from them.
But I was just going to say quickly, Oti, even for the sake of the banking drama that we've been facing, honestly, it's been hell. So there are some banks now, I have sent them declined receipts. They are telling me go to one app, one thing. They've not reversed the money. It's over a month now. Now imagine if, that was my only funds, Yeah. So even the banks are not fully ready for a full-blown cashless. You go to other clients, you just put your phone, they just scan this thing. You don't even put all those PIN numbers. Their technology has so advanced, right? I was so excited that I used one of my bank dollar card and it worked. I say, praise the Lord, because there's just a lot that has gone wrong in terms of our unpreparedness. And I think if CBN is trying to, implement this, they should really look into the readiness of even these bankings, because banks did not expect the influx. Like, some days ago, we had to do salaries and all of that. To get some banks, it was hell. It was like, you must be persistently trying and trying. Yeah. Some I had to try like 10 times, before the transaction finally went through. So it's a lot of traffic. It's a lot of load on the banks, So I don't know. I don't know whether I really want the old Naira back.
Coming back to your question again, for me, I think if CBN is not ready to inject more new Naira notes, which is just going to be enough to sustain the economy, then I think the old can go side by side, because the suffering is, I'm particularly really disappointed because we've suffered already. It's like, what was the essence of all this suffering? So that's the indifference I have when they're talking about the old notes again. It's not like it's something that's bad, and it's just like, we've suffered already, so let's just go ahead with whatsoever it is. But then if they're not ready, because I was thinking maybe after the elections there'll be more circulation of the new notes, but I don't know how ready CBN is. If they are not ready, then I think it's better if the old notes can go side by side the new notes.
Abi, okay, somebody says the reversal is best, but you didn't put your name. Uti, I think you have a comment.
Okay, so my comment says, one second. My comment says, when policies are made for individuals without considering the generality of the people, it is already dead on arrival. Our leaders are always looking at themselves as emperors and not leaders. Even in Zaria today, banks are still closing their gates to customers and reducing customers as beggar or two beggars. That's Raphael in Zaria.
Because banks are still afraid. I mean, before I could even get my account officer herself, I think she has even jackpot because she gave me somebody else's number to chat of when I was trying to complain about the declined transactions, and that up till now I haven't gotten a reversal. I did another one yesterday. The transaction went through, but it was supposed to be for power, but they didn't send the token, but only for me to, like almost 24 hours later, I saw a credit alert back. So it's just a lot. Glory, your comment.
The system is trying to adjust.
Right?
Okay, this person says, good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying? There is no too much talk. It is very obvious that CBN and the government are deliberately and wickedly heartless, okay? If they know that we can still use the old notes after the election, then why didn't we use them before the election? What then happens to the lives lost and those that fell sick? Can the lost lives be retrieved? The answer is no. I think I support you, beautiful ladies. We need to sue the CBN governor and the federal government for damages, because this is highly unacceptable. How can I be denied access to my hard-earned money? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. This thing did not happen during the time of Charles Soludo. Then why is it happening in the time of Godwin Emefiele? I rest my case for now. My name is Daniel Ilo, Ways regular fan.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
So, I mean, like we all have rightly alluded that CBN has not responded. With your column, we've not heard, since this is a fresh, hot gist, you understand? Let's wait till probably next week and see what CBN would say, what response CBN would give to this new Supreme Court's invalidation of the... But why are they invalidating the Naira redesign policy itself? Because, Uti, like you rightly said, it's not the policy that really is the issue. It was the implementation. So why are they not focusing on the implementation? Why are they just outrightly invalidating the policy itself? Is what I don't get. But hey, what's in concern me? What do I know? Aleo, you have a final word?
I wanted to say that we are nothing but pencils in the hands of the creator.
As Wale Adenuga production. This is super. I'm telling you that you are a super story.
No, it's so painful. Remember when we heard this news? Everybody was like, "Gosh!"
Like a life of strife and sorrow. This is super story. Uti, find out what so.
Well, see, this is why at one point in time they said Nigerians were the happiest people on earth, because no matter what we face, we can find our song, we can find our laughter.
I'm telling you.
I think that's the superpower God gave us.
Yeah, so I mean, there is a lot going on, and I can admit that on the surface of it, when you just look at it plain black and white, you're just like, so what was this all for? What was all the suffering and the pain for? But it's still very much in flux that this ruling has come out. We don't know even though Glory asked the question and I stepped away from it, we don't know what the outcome will be. But as always, Nigerians, we are tenacious people. That is, again, I think why God gave us that tenacity. So we have to hold on and see what happens in the coming days.
Okay, oh, it is well. We have to find laughter, honestly, because me, the past few days, I've actually been stressed, but I told myself, I said, no, I'm not going to let the devil win this one. I must keep my joy, keep my head up, and I know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. For CBN and the Supreme Court, when people have finished what you want to do, me personally, I will galvanize Nigerians to sue you, so that we'll sue you for damages. We'll use the money and go to Maldives or somewhere for holiday. Kilo day. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, Glory. Thank you, Uti, and thank you, Alera. We had a fantastic conversation. It's a great way to wrap up the show for the week. Now, before we go, ensure you follow us across all our social media handles at Show Africa. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media, like, share, and invite your families and friends to watch and follow. Now, if you missed our quote today, here it is again. The Supreme Court's only armor is the cloak of public trust. Its sole ammunition, the collective hopes of our society. But it's looking like it is Supreme Court and CBN now that want to give us palpitations. But we'll see you guys live at 8 p.m. on Monday as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.